Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I wanted to take the opportunity to say a few words about a boss of mine who passed away last night. Eugene Melnyk was someone I worked for on and off for 22 years. He was an interesting fellow. I started working for him in May of 2000. He was the CEO and chairman, co-CEO and chairman of Biovail Pharmaceuticals, and he was kind enough to offer me the position as chief financial officer of Biovail. I worked there for 7 years. We had an incredible time, some ups, some downs. Raised over $1 billion of equity and debt, spent a bunch of money on some incredible acquisitions, and built a great pharmaceutical company that ended up, after we left, being sold to another company and ended up being a big success. He and I came into some criticism of that company, but the company produced some fantastic products and ended up being a huge success, creating a bunch of shareholder value and a bunch of cash flow. And I got to tell you that Eugene Melnyk was one of the smartest, most strategic, and smartest from a financial standpoint people I've had the pleasure of working with. He was a challenge to work with at times. He was hard driving. He expected a lot, but he was a very successful executive. In 2003, he and I started talking about his love for hockey, and the Ottawa Senators came available, and he asked me to help him buy it out of bankruptcy. And at some point in time, the whole story of that transaction will undoubtedly be told. It was one of the most interesting transactions I've worked on in my whole career. It was bought in a couple of different phases. It was bought out of CCAA in Canada, where it was in bankruptcy, and that was the team, and the building was in Chapter 11 in the United States, owned by a different owner, leased to the team in Canada. So it was extremely complicated, and we needed to get creditors' approvals in Canada, the United States, bank approvals, and receiver approvals, and in the end, the NHL approval, and also negotiate with both the province of Ontario that had debt against an interchange, and the city of Ottawa in regards to a bunch of issues they had on property taxes and things like that. And at the same time, we were fighting a sort of a rearguard action by the former owner, who was proposing an unbelievably bad deal for the Canadian taxpayers, because it was going to be a tax structure deal, couldn't cost Canadian taxpayers a substantial amount of money. It was a fascinating transaction. I loved working on it, and it ended up being, I think, hugely successful for Eugene, for the city of Ottawa, for the Ottawa Senators, et cetera. And my only regret, you can see, I actually had the privilege of being on the ice in 2003, 2004 in the team picture with the Ottawa Senators. And in 2007, going to Stanley Cup finals when they played against the Los Angeles Kings with the team. And then in 2000, and I think it was 17, coming close to getting into the Stanley Cup finals. My only regret is that they didn't win the Stanley Cup, because that was Eugene's number one objective in his life, other than everything else he achieved, that he really wanted to own a team that won the Stanley Cup. He and I worked together not only at the Senators and at Biovail, but at a company by the name of Pure Genesis, a botanical pharmaceutical company, and at Clean Beauty, at Fusion Beauty, a cosmetics company, and then also at Neuroline Technologies, a medical device company. And what that says is that Eugene had this incredible capacity to think about different businesses in different industries and understand them and be strategic and thoughtful in medical device and pharmaceuticals and cosmetics and in hockey and sports. He loved NFL football. He loved to go to Vegas and gamble. He loved Barbados. He loved horse racing. He was a fascinating guy, and he also gave a lot of money. He was very philanthropic in regards to St. Joseph's Hospital in Toronto, to a home for kids associated with horse racing jockeys and trainers, and also to his parents' home country, Ukraine. where I went to a bunch of events with him. He gave a lot of money and supported orphans from Chernobyl and other things, and summer camps, etc. And then finally, the Oregon Project, which was another love of his because of the importance of transplant, and he was a beneficiary of a transplant himself. We had an on and off again relationship at times. We argued a lot, but I think that actually is good in life, that you can have friends slash coworkers slash bosses that you can argue with and not be a yes man for. And I hope he appreciated the fact that I was not a yes man, and we did argue a lot. And in the end, I think we came out with not all the time, but most of the time, better decisions. Anyway, I think that that the Ottawa Senators, Ottawa, Canada, the pharmaceutical business, medical device business, lost a great man and a friend of mine. Even though he was a boss, he was a friend that I'm sad to see go. Eugene Melnyk, rest in peace. That's my show for tonight. Good night, everybody.